Hello, welcome to Shrewsbury Film Society's online film club again. Our next film choice is a film called A Special Day, which is an Italian drama that was made in 1977, but is set actually very precisely on the 6th of May 1938, which was the day that Hitler came to visit Rome as part of a state visit to Italy. The first 7 or 8 minutes of this film, in fact, are pure documentary footage. They're edited down from a contemporary public service film called The Führer's Trip to Italy, and that 55-minute documentary is itself actually available on DVD if you're interested in looking at it further. A Special Day was directed by a man called Ettore Scola. He was born in 1931. He went to university to study law, but it didn't suit him, so he dropped out intending to become a cartoonist. And then he moved from cartooning into film directing, starting in the early 1960s. Most of his films before A Special Day were actually political comedies or satirical films of one sort or another, scoring points of what he saw as the dysfunctional Italian political establishment. When he died in 2016, the Guardian obituary quoted him as saying the following: "The inequalities and corruption of Italian society have always been a rich source of inspiration for my cinema, which I inherited from the neo-realists." By the neo-realists, he meant the wave of post-war Italian directors who made fiction films, but in a semi-documentary style, focusing particularly on social problems. Some of the best known amongst them include this one, The Bicycle Thieves, by Vittorio De Sica from 1948, and this one, Rome Open City, by Roberto Rossellini from 1945. And I think the rather bleached out sepia tones of A Special Day are perhaps intended to evoke the atmosphere of those early works, which were all, of course, made in black and white. As well as being a film director, Ettore Scola was also one of the leading intellectuals in the PCI, the powerful Italian Communist Party, and his political ideas seem to have influenced his choice to make A Special Day, because he was concerned by the second half of the 1970s that the Italian public were forgetting the true horrors of fascism and World War II, and were starting to see Mussolini's leadership through a rather rose-tinted spectacles, and he wanted to correct that view. The film stars Sophia Loren and Marcello Mastroianni, both, of course, really big film stars, but both in this film playing rather downbeat characters. Loren, who is actually now retired, started acting as a teenager and had a career which stretched from very successful films in Hollywood from the late 1950s onwards to any number of Italian and other European films as well. And in 1961, she was the first actor to win the Best Actor award for a foreign language film in the Oscars, and that was in another film by Vittorio De Sica called Two Women. Marcello Mastroianni is probably the biggest film star that Italian cinema has produced to date, and he died in 1996 after an extraordinary career, almost 45 years long, which included about half a dozen films in which he played alongside Sophia Loren, and also real cinematic landmarks such as Eight and a Half and La Dolce Vita. Rather bizarrely, the oldest daughter of Sophia Loren's character in this film is actually played by Alessandra Mussolini, who was the granddaughter, is the granddaughter of Il Duce. She was an actress herself in her younger years before she turned to becoming a politician and on the extreme right of Italian politics. And she was actually a member of the European Parliament from 2014 to 2019. The most likely explanation of how she got her part in this film is actually that she was the daughter of Sophia Loren's sister Maria. Maria was married to Romano Mussolini, who was the youngest son of Benito. And furthermore, the film was actually produced by a well-known Italian producer called Carlo Ponte, who was Sophia Loren's husband. So all in all, it was something of a family affair. The film is relatively unusual, I think, in that it is largely a two-hander by Lorraine and Mastroianni. Between the opening scenes and the concluding ones, we've probably got the best part of an hour where they are together on screen almost uninterrupted, apart from some very brief dialogue with one other inhabitant of the block of flats. It's also pretty unusual in its use of soundtrack, as you'll see and hear as it goes along, because the soundtrack is overwhelmingly dominated by radio broadcasts of the day's big event, namely Hitler's visit to central Rome, and it features a large amount of Italian martial music, repeated extracts from the German national anthem, and a considerable amount of fascist propaganda. And part of the strength and the power of the film comes from this mismatch between the scale of the events playing out in the centre of the city and the nature of that drama, which is all about losing individuality in the crowd, and the two characters we see on screen who are very much away from and apart from the crowd, both physically and emotionally. The radio broadcasts are also perhaps a reminder of just how powerful that medium was in pre-television days, and how radio really played a central role in the propaganda and myth-making of the fascist state. And in fact, a few years before A Special Day, Bernardo Bertolucci's film The Conformist, this one, which was his really extraordinary film about the same era, in fact opens with a scene set in a radio station, making a similar point about the power of radio. Sort of ironic in a film in a way. The film picked up quite a few awards when it was released in 1977, and one critic wrote the following: affirming the need for human warmth and affection as an antidote to an inhuman society, A Special Day has lost none of its relevance or fascination over the years, and ranks amongst Scola's most accomplished works. We very much hope you'll agree when you have a chance to watch the film within the next couple of weeks.